Hi there, welcome to Power Platform Productivity Made Easy. First off, let me introduce myself. My name is Robert. I have been in BAI, which stands for Business Automation and Intelligence Department, for a year and was previously on Help Desk. Being on Help Desk, it granted me exposure to what could help businesses run easier and more efficient. I won't completely spoil it now, but automation is even better when using tools and products that are available to you right now. But we'll get to that. I've worked on a few extensive projects ranging from a credit application website, an enterprise text messaging app, and onboarding and offboarding automated workflows. I've also done system monitoring scripts to automate processes for our endpoints within our service department. A little about me personally is I like to play guitar, work on cars, and of course, like to play video games. So what is Power Automate? Power Automate is a way to streamline processes on the Microsoft 365 platform. It is mainly cloud-based. Power Automate is meant to save time on tedious or extensive tasks. It could be a complex workflow or a simple process. It offers real-time reporting, can be set to let select users or groups inside of an organization to access, need only low to no coding experience to use Power Automate. Here are some workflow examples of what Power Automate can do. Send an approval through Teams or Outlook, send data from one service to another, calculate a quote and send it over for approval, get more sandwiches if you run out, post to multiple media sites like X, Facebook, and LinkedIn from one place, automate the onboarding and offboarding processes, send a report of current or past claims, and so much more. Why am I saying to use this tool? To save time on processes that take a long time or frequent tasks easier, to remove human error and even check your work, again, low to no coding experience. It's already available to you if you have a Microsoft 365 account, many connections and integrations. Speaking of connections, Power Automate can connect to built-in Microsoft 365 or external applications. There are also constantly adding pre-built connections, or you can make your own. I have to note, some applications require a pro license as there are premium connections. In the event of needing a premium connection, we find the per user per month plan at $18 most often fits our needs. All right, let's take a look at the Power Automate user interface. You can get to Power Automate by going to office.com, clicking on the waffle at the upper left-hand corner, then selecting Power Automate. And on the right is the main screen that we'll be looking at. These individual items are called flows. These are your automations, but we say flows because it is short for workflows. Once you click on the flow, this is what you'll see. This is your main details, where you can see your flow name, the owner of the flow, if the flow is turned on or off, created and modified date, and a little bit more. Next is the connections. This flow is using a connection to SharePoint and Microsoft Teams. The next box is owners. You can select who can edit and view the flow from here. We'll skip these two boxes over here for now and go to the run history. This will show you if a run of a flow has succeeded, how long it took, and you can also add more columns for more customization as well. On the left side over here is what we will see when we are editing a flow. These blocks are action steps that you can connect to your data or other services. You can also use formulas to calculate or transform your data to your needs. On the right is what a flow looks like after it is run. It will show you if a step has failed using these little checkboxes up here, how long that step took, and what the output of that step was. All right, story time. Let's say that I'm part of a company that is going on a ski trip. They want to have a form to have their employees sign up. They want to be able to tell who submitted that form, if they need rental equipment, if they are bringing family, what session are they joining, and upload their liability waiver. Then store that information into an easy place to access. Then notify in Teams of a submission and send an email if they are renting equipment. So in this example, I'm not going to be showing the best practices of how to use or build flows, but to show you what is possible and get your creative minds thinking of how Power Automate can help you in your day-to-day business. So let's open up our browser here. And we'll go over to here and office.com. And once we are loaded in, we'll go ahead and open up a couple of things for our example today. So we're first going to open Power Automate. Here and office.com. We're also going to open SharePoint, and we are also going to open Forms. Once we are loaded in, we're going to first we'll go ahead and open up a couple of things for our example today. So we're first going to open Power Automate. Once that pops, we're also going to open, we'll make this full screen, SharePoint. And so we're going to make a new form. We're going to call this webinar ski trip. And we're going to add a couple of questions here. So we're going to first ask for their name, and their email. Now we're going to add a couple of choices. So we are going to ask for needs rental equipment. And we're going to say either yes or no. We're going to add another yes or no question here for bringing family/friends. And we're also going to say yes or no. We're also going to do which session. And we're going to ask for morning or afternoon. Lastly, we are going to add a file upload. We're going to call this signed liability waiver. We won't mess with any of the settings on that one, and we'll add a theme just to spice it up just a little bit. I like this snow one right here. Perfect. Alrighty, so now we'll go ahead and go into Power Automate. Since we have our form created, we'll go into here and go into My Flows. So this is where all of our flows will live within our account. And we'll go ahead and click on New Flow. We do have a couple options that we can choose from. We can choose from a template where it may already have a flow to your needs already created. You just need to fill in some of the data. Today, we're going to do automated cloud flows that will allow us to set the trigger of what we want to run and add the additional steps that we need to add. There's also instant cloud flow, where these flows will run at a click at a button, and then a scheduled cloud flow where you can tell it to run at a certain time. So we'll go ahead and click on automated cloud flow. And we are going to name this ski trip submit. Submit. And so what we'll want to do here is we're going to select our trigger. What do we want to run the flow with? So we want to run this flow whenever there's a new response from Microsoft Forms. So we'll go ahead and hit create. And for our purposes today, we're not going to be using the new UI. It is still in beta or in preview, so we're just going to turn it off for today. All right. So now it is asking for our form ID. We're going to go ahead and find our form that we just made. So it is webinar ski trip. We're also going to get the form information as well. So we're going to do get response details. Since the trigger does not give us the details about what we just got, we'll have to get it. So that's what this action is for. So if we're going to do the same thing here, so webinar ski trip. And it's asking for our ID. Luckily, when the trigger is set off, it does record our ID or identifier. So we'll go ahead and put that in as our dynamic content. And then we will also do a compose just to show our outputs as well. And we can, so what a compose does is it creates a way to show our output custom. So we can put a custom output. So we'll put name, email, rental. We'll do family to keep it short. And we will also do session. We won't worry about the file upload for now. We'll get to that in a little bit. So now if we go over to here, we're going to select our dynamic content value. So what this does is now, since we have all of our details from the form, it knows where all the questions are. We can select them. And within our dynamic values, it gives us all the values that we can use currently. So we'll go ahead and say name, and then email, rental, family, and session. So we'll go ahead and click on save. And we're going to go back to our form and do a quick response just to show how everything looks on that side. So we'll start. We'll do Robert E for myself for right now. Robert E at univisioncomputers.com. I don't need rental equipment, but I am bringing some family, and I'm an early bird, so I'll go in the morning. And I'm going to upload a testing file. And submit. Perfect. So now, if we go back to our flow and go back a page, we're going to be able to see that we have a run. So let's go into our run of our flow. And we can see that I ran successfully, so that's good. So if we go into this first action, it has a whole bunch of stuff that we just, as humans, can't understand. But that's where this action comes in, and it will give us the questions that we asked for and their response. So everything is looking good. This is that signed liability waiver, which we will get back to in a little bit. And this is what the actual response or output of this action looks like. And then we'll go over to our compose, which is our custom output. And it's something that we can recognize what we can see and understand. So now that we have our information, let's go ahead and create a spot so we can store our information. So we're going to go into SharePoint and create a site so we can store our information. We're going to do a team site, standard team. We're just going to use the normal template, and we are going to call this a webinar. Let's see here, demo. Perfect. We'll go ahead and click on next and create site. We're not going to be adding anybody or any availability to the site since it's just us making this so we can see it. We'll click on finish. All right. So now we are in our site. And what we need to do next is create a list. What a list will do, will create columns so we can put our questions in and we can easily recognize what the data is. So we will call this submissions, and create. And now we are in our list. So we do have already a built-in column here called title. This is your main column, what is your main identifier of these items that we are putting into here. We can rename this, which we will, to name to make it easier when we look at this list, but it will always be title on the back end. So once we go back into our flow, it will be called title. Just remember that. I'll point it out once we see it next. All right, let's go ahead and add our other questions. So we'll call this email. And we'll do a couple of yes or no columns. We're going to call this rental. Until we won't change any of the settings. We're going to do another yes or no for family. Then we will do an actual choice for our session. So session, we only need 2 choices, and we'll do morning and afternoon. We won't change any of the other settings. And we got a built-in column for our attachment, the file upload that we are doing. So we'll go ahead and add that and apply. And now we have all of our questions that we need from the form. So let's go back to our flow, hit edit, and let's start adding our items to add to SharePoint. All right, so we'll add a new step. And we're going to say create item. Create item in SharePoint. Since we just made our SharePoint site, usually it does not recognize that we already have it open once we look into it. So we'll copy the URL real quick and take a look and do webinar. Let's see here. Yeah, none of these are the correct ones. So we'll add a custom item and paste that in there. So now, once we look in the list name, we should see submissions. And once that loads, we can see all of our other values that we need for our form. And again, our name column is called title in here. Just remember that. So let's go ahead and start adding a couple of these. So name and email. These two, the yes or no columns, are a little bit more tricky, but it won't be a problem for us. So what we can do is add a custom item. And since it is asking for a yes or no here, and what we are getting from the form is a little bit different. So we have to transform our data to what it can accept. And what SharePoint accepts is true or false. So I already have a formula that we can use. So we'll click on here and we'll click on this formula button right here, or expression. I'll paste that in there. And we will be doing the rental part of this, so rental equipment. So essentially, what we just did was saying if the answer to the rental question on the form is equal to yes, then we want to say that this value that we are putting into SharePoint is true. If it's anything other than yes, we want to say it's false. So we'll go ahead and click on save and OK. And we will do the same thing over here. Not there. For family, so we'll click on where we need to be. go back to dynamic values and bring in family and friends. And it's the same thing. So saying if that response is equal to yes, then say it's true. If it's anything other than yes, then it's false. And luckily, the session value is a little bit different. Since it is looking for afternoon or morning, we can just put in our value since it's only looking at the text. So which session, and click on OK. The keen among you might have noticed that the attachment for the waiver is not here. So we'll go ahead and add that as well. So we'll add another step and add attachment, add attachment. And we'll have to fill in some of this data. So we'll copy this URL again and paste that in there. And let's get the list. And since we are creating an item up above this, it will respond with an ID, which we can select in our dynamic values. And now we have the file name and the content. So let's go back a little bit and take a look what we have for that file upload. So we'll take a look at our run. So let's go into here and go into our response details. Okay, so I won't explain everything that's in here, but I will explain that this is a list that we have. We're only worried about one file, and we only need the name and the link to this file. Also, the link is a little bit different compared to what we have in our SharePoint, which we'll get to in a little bit. There are other fields in here that we are going to include, but we're not going to worry about at the moment. So let's go back into our edit, and we are going to say we are going to ask for a parse JSON. So what this is going to do is we are going to ask for the output of that file upload. So we'll go ahead and get that. Sign liability waiver. We're going to say, hey, take this information that we're giving you right now and expect all these fields. So now it can see the name and link and ID and other values later on and require them as well. So since we have everything from here now, we will also need to get the path of that item. So see here, we will need to get that file. So get file, and we're going to do it by a path. So we'll go ahead, and this is where that link comes in. So it's a little bit different. So documents, apps, and so on is a little bit different from what we are using in actual SharePoint. That's because it's actually in OneDrive, but it thinks it's still in SharePoint since it's easier. So we'll go ahead and copy that link and paste that in here. So add a custom item and paste that in there. So what about this file path? It's a little bit different each time because the file path changes due to the file name. So we're going to do a custom output using a compose. So compose, add that in, and I already have a path started. We'll paste that in there. And now we just need to add the name of that file. So luckily in that parse JSON, it will give us that name. So we'll go ahead and click on that, and something changed. So what this is doing is saying that since every time we are submitting a waiver, it's coming in as a list. So we have to go through each item of that list. Luckily, we're only worried about one item, and then do our actions. So since we already have this in here, we'll drag the other two items that we need. We'll open this up and add our path, which is all good to go in this compose. And we can add our name now, since we already have that, and the file content that we are getting from this action right here. So file content. Okay. So now that is everything that we need to do to add to SharePoint. So we'll go ahead and save that. And since the original run that we didn't save anything to SharePoint, we're going to do that run again using the same information. Just this time, we are adding it to SharePoint. So we'll go ahead and click on test. And there we go. Everything ran successfully. And we'll go back to our SharePoint and refresh. There it is. Okay, so we'll go into here just to view all of our questions. So name is correct, email, I didn't want any rental, but I was bringing family. I'm an early bird, so I'm in morning. And if we go into attachments, this is that testing document. Perfect. Everything is going as planned. So now, since we're adding to SharePoint, we want to also notify people if on Outlook or an email saying, hey, this person is asking for rental equipment, and then also post in Teams regardless of any of the questions. So let's go back into Power Automate, and let's add another flow. We're going to do another automated cloud flow. We're going to call this ski trip notify. So this time, the trigger is going to be when there is an item created within SharePoint. So this will trigger whenever something is added to that list that we created. So we'll go ahead and click on that and create. And turn this off. And I'll go ahead and copy this URL, which it will ask for in a little bit. So we'll add that into here. Click on OK. And select our list name. So luckily, with this trigger, it's going to give us all the information that we need. So it will already know all the values of that item that will come through. So we can go ahead and get started on our logic. So our logic is going to be whenever someone is asking for rental equipment. So we will do when rental is equal to true, and we'll add the Boolean true. Then we want to send that email. So we'll go ahead and type in Outlook, since that's what we're going to be using for our connection. And let's go ahead and just take a look at what we can do with Outlook. So see, we can do a whole bunch of actions within Outlook or other emailing services as well. I think Gmail is also included. But for now, we are just wanting to send an email. And just for testing, we're just going to do myself. And we're going to say rental request. And we're going to do dash. And then we're going to put the name in there just to make it easy to see. So title. So again, that column is called actually title instead of name. So we'll click on that. And we'll say a ski trip rental has been requested for, we'll put that name in here again, period. Okay, that's all that we need for now for that email. And we'll go ahead and add our last step, which is the Teams information. So we'll go into that connection again and take a look. There is a whole bunch of stuff that we can do in here, but for now, we are just going to be doing post a message. So we're just going to post a message as a Flowbot, just saying that is the user is called Flowbot. We can't post as somebody else or ourselves, but for today, we're only going to do a Flowbot. And I already have a channel that I want to post to. So we'll go ahead and pick our main team and the channel, which is going to be our HR channel, HR team. And now we're just going to put in our information that we want. So name, email, rental, family, session. And again, we're going to worry about the file upload here in just a moment, but we'll go ahead and fill in the rest of our information. So title, email, rental, family. And since we're only looking for the text of the session, we can do the session value. Now we're going to do something a little bit fancy. So we're going to convert this message to HTML, and we're going to add a hyperlink in a little bit of a different way. So we're going to bring this P tag down, and we're going to add an A tag, which is a hyperlink. Each ref is equal to our link, which we'll put there in just a second. Close that. Link to Lever, and then we'll close that A tag. And now we can add that link. So link to item. Perfect. That's what we need. Okay, that is all that we need to in this flow. So we'll go ahead and click on save, and we'll do another submission. We'll do a little bit more different details just to kind of separate. So Marie S at univisioncomputers.com. They are going to be doing rental equipment. That way, that email gets sent out in that condition. They are bringing family, and they're going to go in the afternoon session. We'll just do that testing waiver here again and submit. Beautiful. Okay, so let's go check out our runs. So both of our flows are here now. And we'll take a look at the submit just to make sure that everything succeeded. So succeeded in here. We'll just take a look that all of our actions are good to go. So everything is good. Everything is green. Perfect. So let's go into the other flow, the notify. And sometimes it does take a moment for everything to poll. It does poll or ask SharePoint every 30 seconds to a minute. I forget what the exact time is. But it will ask if there's a new submission or a new item within that list every couple of seconds. We'll just keep on refreshing. This would be the perfect time to insert the Jeopardy music, of course. Come on. There we go. All right. Looks like it succeeded. So we'll go in here and just check our condition. So it did post in that channel, so that's good. And it did run the Outlook condition. So let's go ahead and take a look at both of those. So Outlook and Teams, or the other way around. There we are. Here is that email, if it wants to load. But we can see that the subject is correct. It's filling in that name. And the body of that email is also correct. It's also filling out that name. And we'll go ahead and go to Teams, and we have a new submission. The time is correct, and it's all good to go. So we'll click on that waiver link. Should bring us right over to that item, and we can click on that item. So now we have everything. Okay. So let's go back to the presentation. We are good to go on our demo. So, all right, that was a lot of information all at once. What the heck did we just do? We made a sign-up form that stores its data for later use. We made a simple SharePoint team site so we can store that data from the forms. This is also free to use. We then made two flows, one to manipulate the data to what we want from the form and then save it to SharePoint. The other is to notify select people in Outlook and Teams. This overview of what we've done is a short, simple, and free, that's right, I said free, with a Microsoft license way of automating a task. This shows the concept that I'm pushing of how Power Automate can easily help you in your day-to-day business. Here are some other projects that we've worked on that are mainly flow focused that has helped either our clients or even ourselves be more efficient and cost effective on a day-to-day cycle. All it takes is a question of what if I can do this easier? Power Automate can be part of that solution that is cheap, easy to use, and effective. All right, that's the end of what I have to show. Learning Power Automate takes longer than an hour, but hopefully I've given you enough to get started. We will put some resources that we use in the Q&A chat and an email after the webinar that we find helpful. If you have an in-depth project that you need help with, feel free to schedule a no-obligation discovery meeting with us. That is my contact information on the screen, and we have a survey for feedback that we will be sending out after this. And yeah, thank you for coming and spending time with me about Power Automate. We now have time for Q&A. Any takers on Q&A? You can ask any questions if it's silly, easy question. If it's a more complex question, we are good to go. Alrighty. And don't be shy, folks.
Looks like we have a question. Will we receive this recording?
Yes. So it will be on our LinkedIn page. So we are live streaming over there as well. This will also be in our YouTube page as well, which I believe we're also live streaming. So we can provide links to both of those pages here in just a moment.
It will also come out through the webinar sign up page that we have once the recording has stopped.
Gotcha. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Marie. Any other questions? Is there anything else that you, as anybody want to see? We can get off the slide and take a look at other connections. I can't show you any other projects at the moment, just to confidentiality to those clients. But I can give some idea of examples.
We would also be interested in knowing if there's anything else that you would like as far as Power Platform goes to learn in our next webinar.
I don't mean to blank out the screen. That is my bad.
We have another couple of questions. Will the future webinars reference what you created today?
We could do something similar. So the future webinars will be going over additional parts in the Power Platform, like Power Apps. What we could do is build a Power App to view these submissions a little bit easier. We can also modify those submissions all in one place without going to SharePoint. You can also view those items and the app on your phone as well. There's tons of possibilities that we could do. I'm not sure if that answers the question super well, because it's basically yes, we could. I don't know if that is our plan. But we could if we wanted to.
One other question is, what is the time frame on doing something like this?
So let's see. With simple processes that we did today, those typically take about, just to futz around with it and get the bugs all kinked out, about an hour or so to build, and maybe a couple extra minutes to test. There are also other resources, especially on the blogs from Microsoft, where other people are doing pretty much exactly what we're doing today and kind of give a rough outline of what you need to do. So roughly, it doesn't take too long for these easier flows that we were doing. The more complicated ones, they can be somewhere, over 40 actions, and you have steps everywhere. You have more conditions. You have while loops. It can get as complex as you want it to, and that can take hours, even days of struggling against it. So it goes back to what I said earlier. It can be as simple or complex as you want it. Simple can be a couple minutes. Complex could take days. I hope that answers that question. Murray, did we have any other questions?
I'm not seeing any yet.
Okay.
We'll maybe give them another minute or so to type something in if they'd like.
Sounds good.
If you come up with an idea that you would like to see in one of our future webinars, please send that over to us. You can find us on LinkedIn or Robert's contact information there. We have a web page also where you can contact us. We'd love to hear what you would like to learn.
Learn, see, troubleshoot.
Looks like we have maybe one more. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
They said thank you for this information.
Of course, we're more than happy to share. Actually, the main reason we want to do these webinars is to share this information. How many people know about Power Automate and how helpful it can be within a day-to-day business, and how much time it can save? I think all three of us at the office have these little worksheets where it tells us, like, if something takes you 5 minutes to do and you do it 20 times a day, and it tells us how long that takes out of our year, essentially. And I don't know any of those times off of the top of my head, but it does add up quick. And if you can automate it and you already have a Microsoft 365 license, why not use it? It's just easier. Makes things easy, less stress. Yeah. Marie,
Looks
did
like
you
we
have
might
something
have
to that?
one more person possibly adding something.
Mm-hmm.
Don't see it come through yet. Maybe not.
Thinking about itself.
It looked like someone was typing.
Gotcha.
Yep, I don't see anyone else typing, so I think we can probably wrap it up if no one else has any questions.
All right. We are going once, going twice. And I'm not seeing any more pinning chats, so I think we're going to call it. So thank you for joining us today. We have another webinar next month. Marie, do you have that date handy?
It's the second Tuesday, I believe.
I wish I could
Looking
pull
real
up my
quick here.
calendar.
Just about there. The 13th, same
Okay.
time, 11 a.m.
Yep, and that one is focused on Power Apps, correct?
I believe so.
Perfect. Alrighty, so yeah, join us again next month. See here, same time. It is 11 Mountain Time. And thank you all. And have a great day.